And here's just one of the first clips we got of him walking with the king, and they've put on a huge ceremony for him. But here's this one.
No question. I think this is a real statement by the king and by the senior members of the royal family. I mean, it's very rare they all get together like this for a visit by a foreign leader. They're doing it to make a point. I think they recognize the world feels a little bit precarious right now. You have two raging wars in Ukraine and in Gaza, and you have a lot of people, particularly since the appalling murder of Charlie Kirk, I think are feeling very tense about the way that issues like free speech are going in the world. And I think that the royal family want to make a statement. They are aligning themselves very publicly today with the President of the United States, who they know actually believes in his heart fundamentally in the principles of free speech, as indeed do they. So I think that this is it's a statement by the royal family. We're going to roll out the ultimate red carpet. And again, just to stress, I've not seen this done for any other world leader. This is unprecedented, and bearing in mind that Donald Trump is getting a second state visit, but the first one was for a different monarch. So nobody has ever, the US president or anybody else, has ever had a state visit with two different monarchs. So that, again, I think is an important thing to say. Last time it was with Queen Elizabeth. This time it's with her eldest son, King Charles. That is real history. And I keep coming back to how his mother would feel, Donald Trump's mother, Mary, how she would have felt about this, watching her son, just on a human level, having these extraordinary moments with the Queen and then with the King. I mean, really remarkable, I think.
Wow, so this is history making here.
Yeah, it is. And Donald Trump is, I believe, even with radical leftist media that hate him so much, going to be remembered as one of the most significant presidents in American history. And there's certainly, if academia is allowed to continue to go the way it is, and frankly, I think after Charlie Kirk's death, I think the fractures are beginning to show, as many universities here in the United States are really having to face up to the horrible people that they have put in their institutions. But nonetheless, and academia is often the ones who makes these sorts of evaluations. I think if that breakup happens, if that breakup happens, you're not going to see quite the rating of Donald Trump that he really deserves. But in the long term, he's going to be seen as one of the most significant presidents in American history. He has a major shadow over the world stage because he's been so effective in his diplomacy. We don't talk about that a lot, but he's one of the best diplomatic presidents in history, both terms. I'm thanks to Piers Morgan there, who was giving the commentary, for putting perspective on this. Of course, he's a friend of Donald Trump's. He doesn't agree with him on everything, but they're friends. And Piers Morgan sees what's really happening on the world stage. I mean, he's mostly in British media, but he shows up over here a lot. His program is a British program, but you're seeing with that commentary a reality that a lot of people on the left, they don't want to face up to. Now, in terms of King Charles, who has frankly been horrible on the issues of the rise of Islamism in Great Britain, self-imposed rise of Islamism. He was recently saying Islam and Christianity are about the same, and that's a radical shift in the monarchy in Great Britain. It has been a firmly Christian monarchy that has been firmly committed to the basic precepts of Anglicanism, which are founded on the Westminster Confession, which is a highly orthodox statement of faith and list of beliefs. And Charles is departing from those. So he's got some criticism to have. But if he is trying to make a statement about free speech, as Piers Morgan says, I think that's a good thing, particularly after the major event in London over the weekend where, all the media reporting, there were about 110,000 people there. There were easily 1 million people in that demonstration. Tommy Robinson, the organizer of it, claimed there were about 3 million. I don't know if it was that large. I've seen pictures, though, and 1 million is the low marker. It's not the high marker. There's something happening in Great Britain. People are fed up with the current administration there and calling for early elections. They're not due for another 3 years. And there is, in the parliamentary system there, you can call early elections. Actually, Keir Starmer was made prime minister on early elections, but that movement is gaining steam, and so I think what Piers Morgan had to say is consistent with what is actually happening there, and you're seeing those crowds now. Right there is more than 100,000 people.
Yeah.
I mean, just that one picture is easily 250,000 people. I mean, it's just amazing that they were saying 110,000, and this is just the very beginning of the whole deal. And what an incredible and significant event that happened there over the weekend.
Yeah, and this doesn't stop. This just goes on and on and on and on. I mean,
yeah.
I've never seen anything like it. But Trump's being Trump over there at the dinner. He's making people laugh, but he's also showing how much of an honor this is to him. I think he actually really appreciates how they've laid everything out for him. But here he is cracking people up.
Melania and I are deeply grateful to you and Queen Camilla for your extraordinary graciousness. And to William and Kate, thank you so much. It's been so great being with you today. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. It's a singular privilege to be the first American president welcomed here. And if you think about it, it's a lot of presidents, and this was the second state visit. And that's the first, and maybe that's going to be the last time. I hope it is, actually. But this is truly one of the highest honors of my life. Such respect for you and such respect for your country. For many decades, His Majesty the King has epitomized the fortitude, nobility, and the spirit of the British monarchy and the British people. He's dedicated himself to preserving the glory and unique character of this kingdom, restoring life to the rivers and streams, supporting the works of its artists and composers, planting trees and gardens in its countryside. And I just visited one of the most beautiful I've ever seen that you just completed, and protecting the architectural integrity of cities, villages, and towns. He has uplifted the poor, cared for rural farmers, and tended to wounded veterans like nobody else. I'll tell you that I just stood in line and shook about 150 hands, and the king knew every single person and every single company, and some of them had bad names like XYZ-Q3, and he knew every one of them, or at least I think he did, because nobody was complaining. I was very impressed with that.
So he's being himself over there, making people crack up. But we actually have some. I had planned to play the clip of Jimmy Kimmel, and we have some breaking news here. Nexstar, I guess Nexstar, who owns, I think Nexstar owns. What's the new news station out there competing with Fox? News Nation. Pretty sure Nexstar owns News Nation. Nexstar, ABC broadcast affiliate. Nexstar is removing Jimmy Kimmel indefinitely after he joked about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. The announcement says the following: Nexstar Media Group today announced the company's owned and partnered television stations affiliated with the ABC television network will preempt Jimmy Kimmel Live for the foreseeable future, beginning with tonight's show. And they supposedly control dozens of ABC networks in major cities across the country.
Well, so Brendan Carr, the chairman of the Federal Communications Commission, is getting some heat from the left today because he intimated that they were going to take a look at ABC's license because of the fact that Jimmy Kimmel, as I'm sure when we play it here, you'll hear it, was saying that Charlie Kirk, asserting strongly that Charlie Kirk's shooter was a right-wing MAGA person. And listen, I don't know about if that's enough to take someone's license away. I'll let them, look into that. But Jimmy Kimmel is one of the most rancid, radical leftist people of all of the very radical, rancid leftist late night talk show hosts. And he just, he epitomizes the cognitive dissonance on the left. They are convinced that they control this country, that they control the media, and that they control the dialogue. And in Jimmy Kimmel's case, and frankly, I think all the late night people, except for Greg Gutfeld, obviously, they're convinced that Donald Trump's Hitler, Donald Trump's a fascist, and he needs to be taken down under any circumstances. That idea epitomizes the outrageous rhetoric that I believe makes the Democrat elected officials, Democrat media outlets, and those who work with them tangentially culpable for Charlie Death's murder. They're not directly responsible, but they have culpability here because they've helped build the environment. I mean, what does a young person think after being convinced over 10 years of constant harping that Donald Trump's a fascist Hitler that is about to expand authoritarianism over the United States of America? Like that is factually wrong to begin with, but we're in an era where factual things are not accepted. You are allowed to have your truth, but your truth's not truth. My truth's not truth. Nobody's is. Truth is an objective thing that must be determined through reason, through the rigorous looking forward to facts. You and I were talking beforehand. I was listening to the Christian apologist Frank Turek, who was there with Charlie. Roughly on the stage when Charlie was murdered. And Frank Turek represents a strong group of men and women who are excellent Christian apologists, who really do go after objective truth. But we have a culture right now that has a large contingent of people in it because of the dominance of really government-aligned media to try to inject a relativism into this culture that is an absurd way to live in a culture. You need objective truth for a culture to be healthy. Jimmy Kimmel is someone who does not align with truth in any way. And it's a very evil thing, to be candid. And he has his capability here and there to make funny jokes, and every once in a while they can be funny and land well. But he epitomizes this move in media to entirely shove aside what is real, to inject a kind of reality that only television can do, because television is not reality even. Reality is what you see day to day with your family, with people around you. And it's one of the things that in the TV age that began in the late 1930s, early 40s, was something that was going to really, how do I want to say this, a counter reality, because TV is not real. It's a representation of something. They're on stages. They don't have real sets. Those sets, in the backdrops of those sets fall down, and you don't have really what's there. So we've lived in this television, and I'm not saying I'm against technology. That's not my point. But we live in this thing that is not a real construct of life. It's a representation of life that can be manipulated. And I'm getting a bit philosophical here, but that's something that we should all be aware of whenever we're watching television, seeing anything on social media or the internet in any place. And and Jimmy Kimmel, among many others, are twisting that reality for a political benefit. And we have to train ourselves always to be wise to it and to wade through it properly so that we can get to objective reality that is not found in any of us. It is found in the Creator God and no other place.
Yep. Well, we'll show you what he said right after this break.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. I want to thank you for all your support at wvwfoundation.com that helps make possible pushing out 24/7 content for free. Without your support, we'd have to put it all behind a paywall. But thanks to you and your support through our foundation, we're able to push it out for free as a broadcast service and broadcast ministry of WVW Foundation. Please consider going there and setting up an automatic monthly contribution, or go there and make an occasional contribution. If you prefer to support us through the mail, you'll find our mailing address there at wvwfoundation.com. You can also call and make your contribution over the phone by calling 901-825-0652. That's 901-825-0652. Again, all these details are available at wvwfoundation.com. Thank you for your support as we try to help people around the world understand the times through the lens of a Christian worldview.
All right, welcome back from the break. Here is the clip that has Jimmy Kimmel under so much heat and what caused Nexstar to say that they're no longer going to be putting him on air on the stations that they control.
We hit some new lows over the weekend with the MAGA gang desperately trying to characterize this kid who murdered Charlie Kirk as anything other than one of them and doing everything they can to score political points from it. In between the finger pointing, there was grieving. On Friday, the White House flew the flags at half staff, which got some criticism. But on a human level, you can see how hard the president is taking this.
My condolences on the loss of your friend Charlie Kirk. May I ask, sir, personally, how are you holding up over the last day and a half, sir?
I think very good. And by the way, right there, you see all the trucks. They've just started construction of the new ballroom for the White House, which is something they've been trying to get, as you know, for about 150 years. And it's going to be a beauty.
Yes. He's at the fourth stage of grief, construction. Demolition, construction. This is not how an adult grieves the murder of someone he called a friend. This is how a 4-year-old mourns a goldfish, okay?
Now, I don't know if that's worth taking their license, but if Nexstar decides they don't want to air his show because of that, then that's totally up to them, and I don't blame them.
Absolutely. I mean, welcome to the free market, Jimmy Kimmel. On free speech in general. And government can't make rules against you speaking. And that actually may be a reason why the FCC could not take action. And I have a little question about that, whether that's even appropriate or not. But it is entirely appropriate for Nexstar to take the steps that they've taken. I don't even know why many of these late night shows even exist, because frankly, their numbers aren't all that high either. They don't make money in the case of Stephen Colbert's show so poorly that he is going to be off the air here soon.
Yeah, and I think Jimmy Kimmel was one of the worst. I mean, he has politicized everything. If you watch his show, it's all politics.
Well, listen, let me just say this. What people are doing in the entertainment industry does not align with what Americans want. Now, they make some money because there is a constituency that will go to some of these entertainment outlets and, go to the advertisers in the case of television, or pay the ticket fees for the rancid movies that are constantly made. There is some audience for that. The hilarious thing to me is most of the American people are not with these folks, and they make a whole lot more money by a more traditional approach to entertainment that is really focused on high quality and the promotion of American values, and the American values are the best values that we see on the world stage right now, that provides the most freedom. A real American values, as Charlie Kirk always was pushing, builds families, and family structure, imperfect though it may be, is still the best thing for a society. These guys are willing to not make as much money as they otherwise could make. And this has been proven over and over again. There have been a lot of independent efforts to promote movies that to make movies that promote these values. They end up having to have grassroots campaigns to get anywhere, but they always do pretty darn well. The top of them is The Passion of the Christ by Mel Gibson, which was a great risk of his, but even though it's R-rated because it shows the horrible atrocity of the killing of Christ, it's the number one grossing R-rated movie of all time. I think its total gross was over $600 million. That surpasses the vast majority of any movies that come out these days. I mean, so they do not want to assert what is good and pure in culture. And I think they pay a greater price for it than they're willing to admit, but people are making some money at it. It's just very limited. I think it's really good, though. We need the marketplace of ideas to say to these people, hey, this is just not the way to go anymore. We're just not going to put up with that. That's how we're going to get a change. And I think, sadly, because I would never want it to happen this way, Charlie Kirk's murder, I think, is really putting some fissures into many areas of culture that have been dominating us for more than 2 decades. So I applaud Nexstar's move. I think it'll be a good one. I'm not so sure I'm going to stand up for the FCC taking a license away over that, but I have no problem with them coming under fire.
Yep. Oh, we have other breaking news as well. This just happened in the last hour or so. Multiple offers wounded in Pennsylvania shooting as governor rushes to New York County scene. FBI is investigating. And I saw earlier, it's changed now, that I think there was 2 officers dead, I believe. I know this didn't happen long ago, so I don't know if you've heard about it.
No, I did not get a chance to take it up.
Supposedly Kash Patel's on the scene, or on the ground. But I guess we'll look into this and figure out what's going on.
3 confirmed dead pigs in Spring Grove. Some leftists put up.
Yeah, but I saw when I looked it up.
Amazing.
Multiple police officers were just shot in New York County. Several medevac units requested, and at least 2 officers transported to treatment. So I guess more will be coming out of it about this as the night goes on.
Well, let's just be very clear here. We have a violent culture, and verbal violence that is magnified in a culture, which is what Democrats have been doing for a long time. I'm not saying it never happens on the right, because it does, but you cannot have a culture be solid when you spew hateful language, when you abort millions of babies. I mean, seriously, that's a death culture that these people promote. Yeah, I mean, over time, it just wears down the foundations of a society to a point that you have to correct course quickly or everything will fall apart. I think we may be on the precipice of going one way or the other in that regard in our culture. I'm hopeful that we're going to survive it well, and better minds, better thoughts will prevail.
Yep. And just an example of this, a teacher in Fairfax County, California, Fairfax High School in California, LA area, put on Facebook, far-right a-holes have a target on their backs and deserve to die. 1 down, millions to go.
That's a fireable offense. Listen, if you're willing to put that on social media, what else are you willing to do?
Yeah, and especially you're teaching kids. This is a teacher here.
I've been saying, and I said it on the show earlier in the week, many media appearances that I've been having, that every teacher that has a post like that should be immediately fired from every educational institution in this country and every government institution. It's our tax dollars. I don't think we should be putting up with it. I'm hopeful for also a breaking of the foundations of the government monopoly over education. It is the government monopoly that allows someone like this to even become an educator. And I can guarantee you the signs of who this person were there from the moment she began working, or at least early on. I mean, we used to have an understanding that education was supposed to be a safe place for children where they just learned things and were prepared for life. That is not what government education does these days. It has no intention of preparing kids for life. I mean, there are obviously exceptions to the rule out there, some school districts, some schools that are very good. But by and large, the whole purpose of government education is not to train children to be successful in life in any way. It is indoctrination. And that's why I think you have to take a clean sweep of all these people. They need to be out of our education system entirely, certainly where government money is involved, because that's not what we signed up for as the American people.
Yep. Well, you sent me a clip today of Chuck Schumer saying that if Obama was president now, he would be uniting America. Here we go.
That's the point. Presidents in the past, when these horrible things have happened, have always tried. They could be Ronald Reagan, they could be Bill Clinton, they could be anybody, Barack Obama. They would try to bring people together. Finger pointing is the opposite of what we should be doing, blaming one side, blaming another side, even before the facts are out. We all have to come together on this. And finger pointing hurts and exacerbates the problem, doesn't help it, doesn't improve it. That's the point.
Jim?
In the divided America that exists right now, which Democrats have built, Republicans didn't build this. They have their faults, and a lot of them, and I'm very critical of the Republican efforts in Washington, D.C. But this is a divided America that Democrats built. From the moment Donald Trump seemed possible to become president, they tried to destroy him. Don't talk to me about unity. They're the problem with the disunity in this country. And even though you do want presidents to be able to bring the country together, you have to unite it on what matters and what's real. So Donald Trump is addressing what's unreal in the Democrat Party. And I think it's entirely appropriate how he's handling this. And there might be this or that thing you want to be critical of, but I think he's doing the right thing by calling out Democrats. I'm going to call out Democrat elected officials, not Democrat voters. And we need to make sure that there is a real rebuke for the America that Democrats built. We are suffering the consequences of it right now.
And Obama played a pretty big role in creating division among race, did he not? I mean, he pushed that hard.
The situation of race in this country at the time Barack Obama became president was actually not bad. It was not perfect. I mean, we still had some things to do.
I mean, he got elected.
Exactly. But the tensions that exist on the lines of race, which I have to just give Charlie Kirk credit here. You know, he made a very good. He constantly was pressing the point that there's no genetic difference between black and white people or people of any race. We're all human beings. I mean, that's what we need to get to in a perfect world. But the tensions over those fault lines that Barack Obama rebuilt after Ferguson in particular and the Michael Brown shooting, that was something that he put together. The reason he did that was he was taking up the same kind of politics that Franklin Roosevelt had successfully put together that kept him in power for so long, because he built mostly socioeconomic lines between people and somewhat race lines. And that's just been the Democrat playbook forever. I mean, anything bad in this country probably has Democrat fingerprints on it. There are other things too. I know there are a lot of things, but when it comes to our politics, Democrats have done more to harm the wonderful system, political system that we put together in this country from our founding. The blame's on Chuck Schumer. It's not on Donald Trump at all.
Yep. And we are all out of time, but I'll leave you with this one thing. I guess ABC is just Disney's ABC is pulling Jimmy Kimmel off the air nationwide. So
good news.
We'll end
good
with
choice.
That, and we'll see you tomorrow. Take care.
Tonight on the Worldview Report, FBI Director Kash Patel appears before a Senate committee. And what he says about the Epstein files causes quite a stir in MAGA land. Pam Bondi is in hot water with conservative advocates of free speech. We'll show you the comments from the Attorney General that infuriated so many on the right, and rightfully so. We have new data showing housing markets across the U.S. may be getting ready to implode. And President Trump is suing the New York Times for a whopping $15 billion, accusing the newspaper of decades of defamation and libel